Namaskar, hello and welcome viewers. You're watching Committee Report with your host Kriti Mishra. Today we'll take a closer look at the report of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance on anti-competitive practices by big tech companies. The world is digitizing rapidly. The digital markets are present across the national and global economy in most sectors from healthcare to finance, from transportation, services to education. The leading players are collectively referred to as big tech companies. Since digital markets do not have sufficient competition, they are also prone to significant anti-competitive behavior by leading players. The bigger you get in digital markets, the more competitive you are. So let's take a look at the key observations and recommendations of the committee on the anti-competitive practices by big tech companies. Joining us for deeper insights, Mr. Dhanendra Kumar, former chairman of CCI. He has been the founding chairman of the CCI and he has also been the executive director for India in the World Bank. Joining us through virtual platform, Dr. Hanumanthaiah, MP, Rajya Sabha. He represents the Congress Party. Also joining us through virtual platform, Mr. Bimal Jain, Chair, Indirect Taxes Committee, PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I welcome all of you on Sansad TV and thank you so much for joining us. And let's begin this program with Member Parliament on our panel today, Dr. Hanumanthaiah. Big tech is under scrutiny worldwide for anti-competitive, anti-social and anti-consumer behavior. In India, 2 parliamentary committees have been questioning big tech firms. Similar process of questioning has also taken place in the US and the EU. China has also been aggressive in questioning tech giants. The aim is to ensure more economic democracy in digital markets. Your opening thoughts on that, sir?
See, the anti-competitive practices by the big tech companies has been reported in the country by many stakeholders, like Federation of Travel Agents Association, Hospitality Restaurant Associations, Alliance of Digital Food Industries, Confederation of All India Traders, and News Publishers Association. All these are stakeholders. They have reported what is the problems of the digital marketing today and how the big tech companies are monopolizing and working against the democratic, financial democracy of the country. See, now the world is digitalizing very rapidly. The widespread adoption of information and communication technology along with growth of multitude and digital companies have a distinct markets comprising the interacting participants with ecosystem. So across the world, this is a market which is growing in a big way. So India also has to equip itself by coming out of the lacunas in the law, and if necessary, the government has to bring a new law to regularize these kind of things. See, the main issue which I wanted to tell you, see, the anti-competitive practices in digital marketing in India is 5th largest world growing economy. See, the digital markets are huge. 907 million internet users are going to be in India by 2023. The digital users of the economy, which is going to be $1 trillion by 2030. So now in 2020, the $537 billion is now has become 258,000 billion in 2022. See, this shows, the volume shows how this market is important and how the players, the small players and the big players should not be, whether it is small players today or tomorrow the big players, should not exploit the other section of the market.
So very important point, very important point. Absolutely, Dr. Hanumanthaiah. You also talked about the law. We'll just talk about it in a bit. But Mr. Kumar, I'd like to understand that this is no secret that big tech companies enjoy sort of monopoly over delivery of information. They're also able to swing the election results, change the political mood of the nation, something that there were allegations on Cambridge Analytica as well. So we are seeing the Google case in India. How are these tech giants able to evade the domestic laws across the countries? Because we are seeing in US, we are seeing in EU, China, India. How does that happen?
Let me first of all give a preface about the Indian competition law, how it was enacted and what it seeks to achieve. It was enacted in 2002 and then it started its enforcement in 2009, and I was fortunate and privileged to have been appointed as the first chairman. Now we started working and thereafter it worked in a number of areas. Now the economy and the markets have changed considerably from 2009 till today. The new age economy with the digitization and with also the advent of technology has changed very rapidly. Now the new age markets and the digital markets have special characteristics by accumulating big data, and using that big data, the companies can immediately acquire through network effect dominance, and they can also undertake dominance of their big data in various other ways, which means abuse of dominance. Now, considering that there are gaps in our competition law, which was enacted way back in 2002, and these 20 years has meant a lot of changes. So government had constituted a competition law review committee, CLRC, in 2019, gave its report, and then based on that, an amendment bill was presented before the Parliament, Competition Amendment Bill in 2022. Now the Standing Committee of Parliament of Finance presented its report to the Parliament, 52nd report, suggesting several changes in the competition law, which is before the Parliament. They also submitted another report, 53rd report, to the Parliament, suggesting several other measures, a new layer of law, the Digital Market Act, on the pattern of the European Union, to be enacted in India for digital big players. There is a difference between big tech and the normal digital players.
Right.
The Indian G20, the presidency, has given special focus on India's rapid strides in digitization. By the way, the main theme of under the preamble of the Indian competition law is accelerating economic development of India. Economic development is in the key focus. Coming back to what you are mentioning, the abuse of dominance by some of these big tech players. Big tech are generally referred, when we talk of big tech, Google, Apple, Amazon. We can talk of
Meta
Facebook,
now.
Facebook or Meta, Apple. Now these five big companies, they are big indeed, and they have large volumes of data, which there is a propensity to use or misuse or abuse, and to the extent it is hurting the economy, it is important that we have measures to rein them. And the Competition Commission of India, I must compliment them that they have been very active and they have imposed heavy penalties on them. Google, as you know, has been imposed penalties. The first case which came before them was 130 crores and later on 936 crores. The third one is 1300 crores. And those penalties have not been set aside till so far. They are at various stages of appeal, and the last one is still before the Supreme Court of India. So it is not right to say that they have just got scot-free, and the Competition Commission is absolutely alert on what they are doing. And the same thing is true of Facebook, on the WhatsApp, on the Apple and others also. It's before the Competition Commission of India. And I must compliment the Standing Committee of Parliament, who have gone deeper into the whole matter. And the first report, 52nd report, has suggested a number of measures to make the Indian competition law much more robust and strong. And they have suggested establishment of digital market unit, for example, and many other settlement and commitment and so on. And in the second report, they have suggested enactment of a Digital Market Act also. Now, coming to these two reports, if I can take one more minute.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
I am completely in agreement with the report of the Standing Committee of Parliament. They have done a brilliant job in going through the entire act and suggesting what needs to be done. And I think there is a time that we must do it now. The other report, which is the 53rd report, which talks about a few measures, including enactment of the Digital Market Act on the pattern of European Union.
Right.
Probably, in my view, and in my humble view, the time is not ripe yet. We have to first see, it has just been enacted in Europe in November 2022,
Right, sir.
just a couple of months ago. Let us see the experience of Europe on its functioning. In the meanwhile, if the recommendations made by the Standing Committee in the 52nd report, if those are incorporated and the competition law is amended and made more robust, including constitution of a digital market unit in the competition commission,
sir.
probably we may be in a position to rein in them much better. And on that experience, if we need to enact the Digital Market Act, certainly we must do it. I'm not saying we must not do it. I'm only saying that we have to decide on the time and the structure suiting the Indian economy.
Absolutely. The economy and the needs,
Needs of
as
the
the Indian
Indian
market
economy.
has.
Yes.
Very important points raised there, sir. But Mr. Jain, coming to you with another concern, that big tech firms also buy out smaller tech firms and they suppress innovation and competition. How do we control that?
See, Kriti is a very important one from the customer and from the fair competition in the market. If these big tech companies are not allowing space for the innovative startup or a new company to come in, then what happened? Competition is being done away with. They are stopping and they are playing unfair trade practices, which is not advisable. For a consumer, what is important? He must get his preferred product and services at competitive prices. Now, big tech companies are focusing on their mileage of data leverage, which they are having in their hand, and they're not allowing the innovative startup to come in, and they create blockage for them to enter into the market. So what happened? On one hand, entry level, they are stopping them. They are also creating anti-competitive method and procedure. They are also anti-steering measures. Through that, they are stopping the new entrants in the market. And this is the way we cannot promote digital market. Digital markets should be providing product and services at competitive pricing. So competitive pricing will come only when we get large players to come in and they can offer their product and services. So that's the reason I must compliment this standing committee report on this anti-competitive and anti-steering measure adopted by big tech companies. What can be done in this regard? You rightly picked up and you said in your opening remarks as well, regulation and regulator. I must take a clue from our past chairman of CCI that 2002 this law was formed, competition law. Then 2019 review committee was formed. Then standing committee report is coming in, and they are all in agreement that we have to frame robust regulation to take care and check activities of these big tech companies. They are into so many anti-competitive and anti-steering. They're not allowing a space to other party to come in, and that is not the right approach. Digital economy means we should have larger player coming in, and we have equal opportunity for all of us together. If that is not being given, then real pricing, which is required by the consumer is looking competitive pricing.
Yes.
Just take an example, simple example. If I want to make payment, Google is offering their Google Pay. That is the preferred app which is coming on any social media. Why so? And why they're not allowing other to come in? Paytm is there, and there are other UPI. Through UPI, we can make the payment. Why such things are being obstructed and restricted by such big tech player? They have to take the responsibility. They can't get into and engage into anti-competitive and anti-steering. And for that, the resolution would be we must have robust regulation and regulator. And penalty, what is being referred by past chairman, 936 crore. 1,300 crore, which has gone to Supreme Court. It looks like when big tech companies are abusing and they are engaged in anti-competitive and anti-steering, why they are litigating the matter? It is not only India. They are being penalized by US, they are being penalized by EU, they are penalized by China. And we have to come together. G20, now we are having presidency. We have to have one agenda, how to control and check digital market and stop this big tech companies from anti-competitive and anti-steering measure which they are taking to stop the small player, innovative players, new startup, and that may offer good pricing, competitive pricing for the product and services. I just give an example of Google Pay. There are lot many examples.
Absolutely, Mr. Jain.
effort to promote their own product and services.
That's
Big tech companies, Google, Apple, Facebook, they are promoting their own product.
That's true.
And
There's
through that
manipulation of
means,
algorithm. Very, very true, sir. There's complete manipulation. And since you've been talking about regulation, let's take that to the lawmaker on our panel today. Dr. Hanumanthaiah, as we've been seeing that invasion of privacy has become default and jurisdictions not having strong data protection laws are often at a disadvantage. So in that context, do you think that we need a separate competition law for tech companies within India?
No, we are now in the infant stage. We have to experiment a lot of things. The Parliamentary Standing Committee has done a commendable work.
That's right, sir.
By initiating this and telling the government that you have to come out with a law. So first let us accept it. As the chairman of CCI said, we need not follow the Europe or US. We should form a law for the requirement of India. See, ours is a different market. See, we have a huge market. Lot of small players are there. We have to keep them in mind, not the big players. See, the big players are always at the upper hand. And the small players and the startup companies, we should give them a chance and to grow. But that is not happening here. So for which this law is a must. We must have a law. And if necessary, tomorrow, we can amend it. Nothing wrong, nothing prevents it. There is a provision to amend the law. But first, let us come out with a law to regulate these big companies. If someday these small companies are also doing some mistake, we have to regulate them also.
Absolutely.
So the law must be comprehensive and robust. When it becomes like that, you have to keep in mind both small players and big players. Don't allow them to exploit each other and allow the market to grow so that the government will also get a proper revenue out of it and there will be no exploitation on that. So my sincere opinion, we must come out with a law immediately. Let there be a law so that the law will definitely help the Indian market to grow, not just leaving it as it is will not solve the problem.
Absolutely, sir. And I'd also like to tell our viewers that the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance has also given recommendations and observations on the competition bill as well. We'll see when that takes place on the floor of Parliament. But Mr. Kumar, another important concern, of course, hate speech, misinformation, invasion of privacy, as we've already talked about. Sir, apart from, of course, ensuring that there's equity in market, how do you think that CCI can create awareness?
As you may be aware, CCI had taken action against Facebook then and Meta now.
Yes, sir.
For their actions in WhatsApp and for the intrusion into the private data. That was something for which CCI imposed penalties and initiated investigation at that time, and it's pending right now. Now, coming back to what can be done, the government is seized of the matter and a personal data protection bill is likely to be enacted on this. It's in the offing. The Honorable Minister mentioned about it. And there is also another act which is coming up, Digital India Act. And also the IT Act is likely to be amended for this. So altogether, I think we are shortly going to have a very comprehensive digital regulatory framework which would possibly plug in many of these holes where the private data could be intruded upon. As mentioned by the Honorable Member of Parliament just now, he explained it with a lot of data that India is just not any other country.
That's right.
It is at the moment 5th largest economy of the world.
Poised to become third largest very
soon in a few years, just behind America and China.
That's right, sir.
Overtaking Germany and Japan. With this kind of an economy which is growing so rapidly and is going to be the biggest market in the world in terms of the population, hopefully within this year it would be the largest population in the world. In this kind of a market, in this kind of economy, it is not easy or it's not right for taking Indian economy and Indian consumers very lightly. And the big tech also have to take it very seriously. In fact, I think that they should produce periodical reports on what they have done for Indian economy and for Indian consumers, and the public would be in their right to know what are they doing, how are they functioning. But at the same time, I would also like to say with all humility that big is not bad always.
Absolutely.
So long as they are contributing to India's economic growth, we should welcome new investment, we should welcome FDI, and we should welcome whatever technologies they are bringing. So we have to take a balanced view. But at the uppermost, the foremost thing is Indian economy and Indian consumers, which is the main fulcrum of Indian competition law, and we have to keep that in focus. We have also to keep that in mind that the new players entering the Indian market are able to flourish, they are able to do their business with freedom. As you said, economic democracy is maintained, and also Indian entrepreneurship it flourishes. So the startups, and by the way, only 2 days ago we had the Startup Day.
That's right, sir.
Commemorated by the Honorable Prime Minister. Startups flourish in various segments, and the big tech also complement. They don't try to kill them like the killer acquisitions and so on, for which there are a number of amendments which have been suggested in the CLRC report and in the Standing Committee report, and the deal size in acquisition and so on. There are various provisions which talk about it. I mean, it's not only the size of the enterprise, but the deal size.
That's right.
Idea is that even for the acquisition, we would like to see the size of the enterprise, the size of the deal, and the enterprise sought to be acquired, and things like this. So if you look at the various provisions in the new amended bill which are being talked about, I'm pretty confident that we would be in a position to rein them in.
Absolutely. Again, sir, very pertinent point raised there. But Mr. Jain, I just have last 60 seconds on the show. As Mr. Kumar said, that there should be complementarity and there shouldn't be any space for exploitation of any kind. Your closing thoughts on that?
Very important. I must compliment, there should be big, and big tech companies should lead like a big brother.
That's right.
And they must self-regulate it, first of all. Why these anti-competitive and anti-steering measures adopted by them? Why US, China, EU is now trying to regulate them? Why India is talking about? It is their self-responsibility first. They have to allow competitiveness. They have to allow fair trade practices. Being big tech company, why we all are talking about these are against us? They have to really take lead from the front. And regulator, as we are finding certain loopholes in our system, and we are fifth largest economy.
That's
Can
right.
we leave like this? Of course, India is different when we compare US, China, and EU, but India level, we are growing faster. So this big tech company has to take self-responsibility, make sure no anti-competitive, no anti-steering, and consumers are benefited. Why I'm being forced with their preferred product and services?
That's
Why
right.
I'm being
Very
forced as a condition to opt for their platform? Why I'm being asked their product and pricing discounting as per their wisdom? They should allow everyone to play. That's the democracy of India all about. Equal opportunity for all of us together.
That's
now
right, sir.
I must compliment this committee report. I must compliment we are taking framing regulation and law. But these laws should come out in a way that it should provide real protective mechanism for the consumer as well.
Absolutely. So there has to be a win-win situation for the big tech companies, for the consumers, and of course, these big tech giants have to focus on the aspirations of India as well. On that note, thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Kumar, Dr. Hanumanthaiah, and Mr. Jain. Well, viewers, that's all we have for you in this edition. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Sansad TV. Goodbye for now from my side.